Nachamu Nachamu Ami Elokeichem. After the Churban, the Navi tells us that we should be consoled. But are we consoled? We just completed an extended mourning period, the 3 weeks, the 9 days, and then the climax, Tisha of itself. Churban, destruction, desolation, the seemingly unending Galus, filled with tears of rivers, filled with rivers of Jewish blood, and unimaginable suffering, and now it's finally time to be consoled. So how does it feel to be consoled? Let's be honest. We aren't consoled. So maybe we should just ask very simply, why aren't we? What's missing? If the consolation is that finally all the restrictions have been lifted, we can bathe, eat meat, drink wine, listen to music, and make chasanas, then we're already there. But everyone knows that leaving the period of Avelus in its various forms hardly qualifies as the Nechama. So that can't be what the Navi had in mind. However, if the Navi means to tell us, Nachamu Nachamu Ami, that eventually there will be a Geula, perhaps we do understand what he said. But at the same time, how can we possibly feel that now? It hasn't happened yet. Perhaps we need an entirely different approach. The Vilna Gaon explains that the first time a word appears in the Torah, it's definitive. In other words, if we desire to understand the meaning of a word that appears elsewhere in Tanakh, we need to revert to its initial usage, see what it means, and from there we will gain insight as to how to understand it everywhere else. Where does the word Nechama first appear in the Chumash? At the end of Parshas Bereishis, Hashem assesses his prized creation, man, and is utterly disappointed. The pinnacle of his handiwork just hasn't worked out as planned. Man's evil deeds and thoughts have undermined his entire reason for existence. The Pasuk then tells us Hashem's reaction. V'yinachem Hashem ki oseh ha'adam ba'aretz. That Hashem had Nachem, that he created man. What does the word Nachem mean? But more than that, we see that Yinochem and Nechama have the same shorish, Nachem. Targum Onkelos says that Nachem means Tov, return. What does it mean that Hashem returned from creating man? He returned from his original intent. In other words, he had regret for creating man. So we see that Nachem or Nechama, at its core, actually means reversal, not as we commonly refer to it as consolation. Hashem had reversal from his creation. Nachamu Nachamu Ami is not a call from the Rebbeinu Shalom for us to be consoled, but rather that there will be a reversal, and consequently we will be consoled. However, if this is so, our questions only become more difficult. Where is that reversal? We're still in Galus, there's no Beis HaMikdash, and the Shekhinah seems to be as distant as ever. Perhaps the words of Rabbi Yisrael Salanter Zatzal will shed some light. He says that although we live in a world of utter Churban, devoid of the Beis HaMikdash, without the Mizbeach, the Kelim, the Karbonis, in the world of Halacha, everything remains intact. In the world of Halacha, the Beis HaMikdash stands in all of its grandeur and glory. Karbonis are being brought on the Mizbeach, and all of the Kelim are being used regularly. On Yom Kippur, the Kohen Gadol enters the Kodesh HaKadoshim with the Keteris, as the entire nation awaits with bated breath for a safe return, and to know that they're having kapara. In other words, the world of halacha is a real world, a world that remains unscathed or even minimized by the facts on the ground. This world is the world of Torah. It is the world of nitzchias, of eternity. It is a world that isn't contingent on what's going on or not going on in real time on the ground. Perhaps we can apply this powerful yesod to the Geula as well. While in real time we see nothing but churban, destruction, and desolation, in the world of Torah, the Geula is already there in all of its glory and grandeur. We are the ones who are confined to the boundaries of time and space. But in Hashem's world and the world of Torah, those boundaries don't exist. The Geula Shlema is already there. And yet you'll tell me that this is too abstract. I just don't feel it. And of course you're correct. Who am I trying to kid? To answer this, we need to ask two other questions. What is our reality? And how do you view the Torah in relationship to that reality? Most of us define reality as the facts on the ground. And while the Torah Kedosh enhances, uplifts, and gives meaning to this reality, at the end of the day, we are still grounded in the world we see with our eyes. When we look around, we see nothing but Churban. The Geula is but a promise that we yearn to be fulfilled. But that Geula is not very real at the moment. On the other hand, if our reality is Torah, akin to the world of halacha, as Rabbi Yisrael Salanter Zatzal explained, things are quite different. While we see our lives in this world and we live them there, our reality is actually quite different. It isn't defined by what we do or don't see. The Gula is as real as anything else. Our yearning is not hoping for it to be, but rather longing for what we already know is there, yet to be implemented here on the ground in our lives. When Hashem promised Avraham Avinu to Bris Bein Besurim that there would be a Gulas Mitzrayim, it wasn't really a promise, but rather sharing with Avraham Avinu a window into the Gula that already existed, but not yet implemented in real time. And our Gula is no different. The key is where to focus our eyes, and consequently deciding what we see. Many years ago, a renowned Spanish author, Juan Luis Borges, came to America on a speaking tour. Although he was blind, he wrote award-winning novels. Now a man in his 60s, he told his audience that he wasn't always blind, that his blindness was the result of a shooting accident when he was 25 years old. What astounded the crowd was what he said next. He told them that he didn't begin to see until he became blind. As long as his eyes were focused outwards, he wasn't seeing reality. It was only when his gaze went inside that he began to see the truth itself. This then is our challenge. Where are we going to focus our eyes? On the Churban that exists outside, devoid of any trace of Gula? Or on the Gula that already exists inside, in the world of Torah, in the world of Hashem? The more that we turn that gaze inwards, the more the reversal of the Churban becomes real. It's no longer just a hope for Moshiach to come, but yearning for the reality of the Gula that already exists to become the facts on the ground. And at that point, we no longer need to exert ourselves to see the reversal, to feel Nechama. The Nechama, which is already there, will be more and more accessible. The more you turn that gaze inwards, the more genuine Nechama will be your felt sense.